Welcome back, VA user. In today's session, we are going to cover the last invoice costing method. In this costing method, as I have mentioned already, whichever the last invoice unit price becomes the cost for all the remaining items. We are going to learn how last invoice used to work. So as I have showcased the example here in my Excel sheet, and on to the left side you would be able to see the costing engine status, and on to the right side you would be able to see the Vienna Advantage transactions. The important part here is I'm considering all the values here into the primary unit, and the unit of measurement is also into the primary unit of the product. If you are entering the transaction that contains a different currency, then you just need to use the currency conversions for calculating the cost. Similarly, if you are using the secondary currency, the secondary unit of measurement, you need to consider the unit of measurement conversion as well to calculate the cost. So let's move back to our sheet and we'll see what's basically this example says. So on to the left side, you would be able to see we have a costing engine status, and on to the right side, there are certain transactions. So you just need to create one of the product category and assign the costing method as last invoice. In my costing level, I'm considering here as organization. Thereafter, we need to proceed with the transaction into the system. So once the product category is prepared, naturally you need to create one of the products. So in our case, it is going to be the HP laptop, and we need to assign this HP laptop to the product category which we have prepared, where the costing method is last invoice. Now once this entry happens, the cost status would be your per unit cost is going to be 0, your on hand quantity would be 0. It means there would be nothing at the level of the costing info or at the level of the costing engine. Now thereafter, we are starting with our purchases, and we have ordered on 1st of April 100 quantities with 27,000 as per unit price, and the total is this. And thereafter, the vendor sends the material and we receive that material. So onto the receipt date, that is 4th April, and when we are completing this quantity, at that moment of time, if you can go and see the status, your status would be per unit cost is 0 while the on hand quantity is 100. But when you complete or process the AP invoice, at that moment of time the system considers the price. You can see the price here at the level of the PO is 27,000, while the price at the level of the AP invoice is 27,500. So the system picks up this 27,500 as a per unit cost, and it will be updated at the level of the costing engine, and that's becomes the status on 4th of April. So this is the way how the system will update. Now let's suppose we are selling this particular product and we are selling 50 quantities. So when we are selling, so naturally we just need to place our profit margin, and then becomes the sales price. We are selling it on 35,000 per unit. So the total price is going to be this. Thereafter, on to the 5th of April, we have shipped this material and 50 quantities, and the cost is going to be 27,500, since the cost was on 5th is 27,500. As a result of the processing of the delivery order or the shipment, our quantity gets reduced from the costing engine and from our warehouse as well. So you would be able to see this is going to be the status, where the system represents that per unit cost is going to be 27,000 and the remaining quantity is 50,000. And thereafter we will send the invoice to the customer, and again assuming that on 5th of April we are raising another PO, but this time we are receiving the material with 26,000 per unit, and thereafter we receive the material. So once you receive the material, at that moment of time the system will not change the status here. Instead, the status would going to be 27,500 for 150 quantity, since the invoice is not yet entered. But when you enter the invoice, and when you process this particular invoice with 26,000, the costing status becomes on 6th of April as 26,000 for all 150 quantities. And this is how the system works for the last invoice costing method. So let's suppose next time, let's suppose this 150 quantity is not sold, but still you are going to procure our next 50 quantities, and this time the 50 quantities you are procuring with 25,000. So as soon as you complete your AP invoice, then for 200 quantities your per unit cost is going to be 25,000. It means whatever the last price of the invoice becomes the cost for the product. Again, I just want to remind you, in case it is a different currency or different unit of measurement, then you just need to consider the conversions, and thereafter you would be able to get the cost. That is how the system used to generate the cost when your costing method is last invoice. That's all in this particular video. In case if you have any kind of questions, then I would request you to enter those into the comments. You would be able to send us the emails as well. We have already provided the email address at our channel, and we'll try to give you the answers. In case we think that we just need to create another video to reply you on, and then we will reply by preparing the new video. If you think you understand the last invoice costing method and it is beneficial for you, then I would request to share this with your colleagues and subscribe our channel. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.